Welcome to the Startup Sessions, the #1 web show and podcast for trusting your gut, breaking the rules, and starting something meaningful, featuring in-depth interviews with acclaimed creative entrepreneurs that have succeeded at building their own remarkable businesses. My guest today is someone that's cracked the code on building a successful business that's a unique reflection of his interests, passions, and skills. Andy Hayes is with me today, and he's the founder of Plum Deluxe, a boutique website and company that's all about helping people create moments that matter. This is a very unique interview because Andy goes into the details of how he successfully rebranded himself and his company, and that's no easy task. And he did it in less than 2 years. We'll get into the inspiring story behind the creation of Plum Deluxe, as well as a fascinating discussion about shifting his revenue model and how he acquired a loyal audience of over 100,000 subscribers. This episode is one that's going to inspire you and show you how to build and grow a successful online company. It's all coming to you right now on episode 42 of the Startup Sessions. Hello, everyone. I am so lucky to have today's guest on with us. He's a very good friend, and he's one of the smartest creative entrepreneurs that I know. So I'd like to welcome Andy Hayes to the show. Welcome, Andy.
Hello. You're very generous. Thank you.
So thank you for being on the show today. I was first exposed to Andy and some of his brilliance at an event a few months ago called Pioneer Nation. And I've had a few guests on the show from that event. But Andy was one of the workshops that I took at Pioneer Nation. And he was talking about building an audience and building a loyal following. And I really resonated with the material that he presented that day. So since that time, we've gotten to know each other. We've gotten together on a couple of occasions, and it's been great getting to know Andy and more about his business and his brand, which is called Plum Deluxe at plumdeluxe.com. And so we'll have a chance to dig into Andy's business, his business model today. So a little bit on Plum Deluxe first, from my perspective anyways.
I'd like to hear this.
Plum Deluxe is a website that specializes in realizing that we can all create moments that matter and making time every day for this. And Andy, you've got a lot on your website, and I want to talk about how your business has evolved over time. But you've got essentially articles and products and even events that embrace this whole idea of realizing that we can create these special moments and that it doesn't cost a whole lot to live a luxurious lifestyle that's meaningful. That's what I get from your business, your branding, and your website. How did I do?
I like it. Can we take it? Is there a fee? I like it.
So
to me, that's the key is for Plum Deluxe is people can choose how they want to interpret our philosophy on living a good life.
Yeah.
That's part of what I empower people to do. I think traditionally luxury brands have told people what their lifestyle should be, and I don't want to do that. I'm not Martha Stewart telling you that you have to be perfect. I'm leading the way in a philosophy that you can have a good life, and you get to choose what that means.
I love that, and I think that's why it's resonated so well with people. Most recently, I know that Plum Deluxe has launched its own premium brand of fair trade loose leaf tea,
yes,
which I've had the experience of seeing some of the packaging. There it is, and it's fantastic. So
thank you.
I know that I know that you've got it on your website today, so I'll put the links on the show notes for people to go check this out. Is this your first product, your first physical product?
First physical product. We've tried digital, and it was just okay.
Yeah.
We do really well with worksheets and templates, but this is our first product.
Got it. Okay. So, like I said, I want to talk more about how your business model has evolved over time. Andy, when did you start Plum Deluxe?
Well, I left corporate and started my business in 2007.
Okay.
So what is that, like 7 years almost?
Wow, time flies.
But Plum, time flies. But Plum Deluxe, I had kind of a wake up moment or shift. And 2 years ago, my mom passed away, and I really kind of incorporated some of her life philosophies in the work I was doing. And it was really funny. I kind of ended up in a place where I had created a job for myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't. That was not a good thing.
Yeah.
And so I had learned a lot working out on my own, but I decided I really needed to do a reset and turn my business into something that I really enjoyed, that was really kind of the way I wanted it to be. I spent a few years, with a website that I just did it the way I thought you were supposed to do it.
Yeah.
So Plum Deluxe, I said, you know what, I'm going to get some help and make this branding really good, get a good name. I'm going to do things my own way. I'm not going to have banner ads. I'm going to create a platform that is monetized in a way that feels good to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've only had Plum Deluxe 2 years. So it's still, I feel like we're still just learning how to walk.
Yeah.
And we're still a business baby.
Yeah. Okay. It's so interesting speaking with entrepreneurs like yourself that it seems like, when we're learning to crawl, we're taking in a lot of these things that other people are saying we should do. And then eventually we get to that point, some sooner, some later, where we make the decision and realize, you know what, this needs to be a reflection of me and what I'm about and what I want to talk about and what I want the world to experience. And you've done that through Plum Deluxe. And I just love the brand and everything that it's about. How did you come up with the idea for Plum Deluxe? You talked about your mom. Was that like really the turning point that caused you to like kind of have a change in perspective or thought?
Yeah, I think so. When I was a kid, I always made little magazines. I always wanted to have a magazine.
Uh-huh.
So I knew that I was kind of like born to have a business like this, to have articles and photography. And I think it appeals to my sense of needing to do a lot of different creative outlets. So a magazine is great for that because I can work on a tea blend one day, and the next day I can be, meeting with a bartender and learning how to make a cocktail.
Yeah.
So I think that was always kind of in my matrix as, the big plan.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something just didn't click for me. And one of the things that I talked about in my Pioneer Nation workshop is that a business really needs to have a story about why it exists. Why do you do it? Because it's so hard. Why should people care? And more importantly, why should people tell someone else about it?
Yeah.
And my mom really kind of gave me that story. She had breast cancer for about 6 years, and it was the best part of her life. That's what she told me, and I agree. It really shook her and said that you should hang out with your girlfriends all the time. You should get really fit. You should do whatever you feel like doing. She'd jet off to Paris all the time, which is kind of crazy for a woman who really didn't have a lot of money but had a lot of airline miles. So I just really was struck by this, and it really, I don't know if it was just kind of a divine intervention, but it really aligned with what I was trying to do and not being successful at.
Okay.
So it finally kind of clicked, like, oh, I had all these pieces, and I always tell people if you look at my business card, it says I'm a producer, and someone told me that I'm good at putting all the parts together.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that's true.
Yeah.
And I had all these parts, and I was having a hard time putting them together. And I was like, what's the missing piece? And I was missing the middle piece, which is kind of why do all these things hang together. So that was kind of the driver. And I wanted, and to me, that it's less about the story of, someone who had a medical situation that given them a wake-up call. It's more about you don't have to have anything to get a wake-up call.
Yeah.
Like call yourself.
Yeah.
Say, hey.
Yeah.
Change your perspective.
Yeah, and that's I don't know that really resonates with me. That's one of the background reasons that I ended up opting out of the corporate world was that I wanted a more meaningful life. I wanted to offer something that was more me out into the world rather than kind of opting on someone else's terms. And I know that we both share that background. I know that you've worked in the technology, corporate technology and software arena for a few years. And this is something I wanted to touch on too before we dive into the inner workings of Plum Deluxe, it's not easy to let go of a secure job with a 401k match and expense accounts and all that stuff. It's a tough thing to do. And there has to be, good planning, and there has to be a very solid why to step away from that. What was it for you? Was there any one thing that caused you to step away from the corporate world and begin your entrepreneurial journey?
Yes, I agree. It's very hard. I don't regret a single thing. I made a lot of money, a lot of money
Yeah.
when I worked in high tech, but I don't miss it.
Yeah.
For me, I had worked at a large software company, PeopleSoft. You can see it on my LinkedIn. I don't hide it. I worked for PeopleSoft for a long time. I was one of the best in the business, and it was acquired by Oracle. And then my client hired me, which was a bank. And then the European banking crisis happened. I lived in Europe when all this happened. The European banking crisis happened, and I didn't lose my job. In Europe, it's very hard to lose your job, but things changed. And then we were acquired by a different company. So I went through all these acquisitions, which kind of, in hindsight, felt like going through the tumble cycle in a dryer. And I ended up, PeopleSoft, great working environment, made a lot of money, had a great friends, we had a good time, we treated each other with respect, we looked out for each other. And then it's like every time the acquisition came, the working environment went down a notch. And the last place, it was a very aggressive, unstable. They had a lot of acquisitions, so there was a lot of people who just didn't like each other just for that fact. Like, your company bought us and treated us like crap, so I think you're crap. This really negative environment, and a lot of people had health issues from all the stress, and I became one of them.
Okay.
And thankfully, finally, and all this time, I had people who had told me, "Oh, you should just be a consultant on your own. You could make what you make now in 6 months."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's too risky. I can't do it."
Yeah.
And one day I had this. I actually started having the same health issues as other people because of the stress. I passed out. I blacked out on a bus once.
Wow.
And that wasn't a wake-up call. I missed it. I was just like, wow, I need to get more sleep. So finally, this project manager that worked for me sat me down one day, and he said, "Look, you need to leave this job because it's going to kill you. I'm not going to leave this conversation until you tell me you're going to leave." And I don't know what it was, but maybe it was just him being so forceful. Yeah. But I finally got it. I finally saw all these things that were happening, and I was like, how did I get here? How did I get here? So that was my kind of wake-up call. And so I left probably 3 months later.
Okay. All right.
With a song and a prayer. I did not have much of a plan on what I was going to do.
Well, we all leave. Those of us that do leave on different terms. Some more planned than others. And obviously, yours has worked out.
I knew I had this much money. I thought I could figure it out.
Yeah.
For me, the shorter time frame was an impetus. I had a website. It was more focused on travel than the other topics that are more popular on Plum Deluxe now. Yeah. So I kind of had a running start. I had a huge following on social media already because I was early to the party. So I just thought, F it, I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Okay.
And I still do that occasionally.
And that's, honestly, that's part of, that's a common trait for creative entrepreneurial type people is, you throw a lot of things at the wall sometimes and you make a lot of mistakes. And you get better as you go along. All right. So between 2007, stepping away from your corporate job, and a couple of years ago, going full on with Plum Deluxe, what were you doing in that time between leaving your job and Plum Deluxe? Yeah.
Well, when I left my job, I was living in Scotland. And there was not a lot of entrepreneurship there at the time. That's changed quite a bit since then, but at the time, not a lot.
Okay.
And the big economy there is tourism. So because I knew so much about the internet and social media and the web, somebody contacted me and saw that I was available. They'd see me at a networking event and asked me to do this tourism training, how to take cool photos and post them on Facebook. Facebook pages were very new then for businesses. And I said yes. And I did that for 2 years.
Okay.
doing this on the side and kind of got a reputation with knowledge about tourism marketing, which was a lot of fun. I had a ton of fun. I had the chops because I had this blog for, I think, probably 4 years up to then, a blog. I had it before WordPress came out, so I don't
Okay.
please don't go to the Wayback Machine. It's really ugly, like black and white, and there's really slow loading photos. So I did that for a while, and the blog was kind of on the side, and I was trying to grow my audience and learning lots of mistakes about what not to do, and trying to see like what would work, like do interviews work. I didn't have people weren't podcasting really then.
Yeah.
But I did a lot of interviews to get people to mention that I'd interviewed them on my site.
Mm-hmm.
And upgraded to WordPress and learning about photography. But I was still doing a lot of consulting because it was comfortable. It was profitable. Even though I'd worked at a corporation, I was kind of a consultant. Like I'd float around and work on projects. So for me, the consulting came really naturally. I still do it on the side now because a little extra cash, because I'm not a VC-funded business, so I consider that my VC backers are the occasional clients that ask us to do stuff, and a lot of times they bleed over. Someone works with us at Plum Deluxe, and they're like, "Hey, can you do this?" Or vice versa. We work with a client, and we just started one just now with Oregon Berries, and they're going to be kind of on both sides, so that's pretty cool.
Cool.
So I did a lot of consulting work, and then when the Plum Deluxe thing happened, I said, okay, consulting is low priority, Plum Deluxe high priority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So today you're pretty much exclusively building the Plum Deluxe business and brand. You've got an occasional consulting client that it sounds like, kind of organically happens. Just so that people understand the business model of Plum Deluxe and how you create revenue, can you explain that model? Just so that people get that, because I think a lot of people might go to your website and wonder, well, gosh, where does the revenue come from?
It's really interesting. I get that a lot whenever I go to like a business event, because we don't have banner ads, and I think people seem to think that the only way you can have money with a website is with a banner ad, which is really outmoded thinking. I threw those away 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So I look at Plum Deluxe as a platform. It's an online platform. Yeah. It's similar to a retail shop, which is a box. It's a box that you have to figure out all the different ways you can make money from it, because it costs a lot to have the box. Mm-hmm. Plum Deluxe is a little cheaper because it's online, but it's not free.
Yeah.
At all. Yeah. And you still have to pay, and get people through the door. So it's a platform. So over the years, we've been layering on different ways to monetize the platform. Mm-hmm. So the very first thing we did, and we still do, is sponsorships. So we work with brands that we would write about anyway, who sponsor recipes, articles, giveaways, etc. And those are all disclosed. It's like the first line when you open an article, and they're often our most popular.
Yeah.
In our newsletter, which is our kind of big thing we send out on Sunday mornings, kind of like the New York Times, the ones that are labeled sponsors get the most clicks every time. So I don't know if it's people are just supporting us and our sponsors, or we just really amp up the creativity when we do a project with sponsors. But that's the main thing. But there's only so much you can do there, because what I don't want to get into is a content race, because obviously, for example, food is our most popular sponsorship category. I don't know if that's the work we do or the money available or whatever, but that's the most popular. And so thus we have to produce more non-sponsored content for it to feel in balance. Thus there's more food content available, which means it's the most popular section, which means people want more of it, which means there's more it's kind of this like cycle. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that it was really rounded.
Yeah. Okay.
So we then tried incorporating affiliate products into the mix, which didn't work so well for us. Okay. We still do it a little bit, but the commissions are so low. I'm not a big fan.
Okay.
And I'm a big fan of controlling your destiny.
Yeah.
Big fan of controlling your destiny. And affiliate stuff, they get the customer and you get like $2. Yeah. For me, that's crap. Yeah. So the beginning of this year, we started with events. I had someone I'd met who was an event planner and said, what, Plum Deluxe would really just rock events. Like your concept really just fits well with events, creating these great experiences for people who dig the concept. So we started that. So we have this big deal with Kimpton doing dinner parties in all their restaurants, which is a lot of fun. We're now expanding our event concepts now that because events are hard. If anyone's thinking about doing events, they're hard. So you have to have nerves of steel.
Mm-hmm.
But they're cool, if you can get them down. So we started with those, and now we're trying to incorporate different concepts. And I'm also working on partnerships. So Jill Knouse is someone you might know.
Hey, I know that lady.
And Plum Deluxe are doing an event together, tea and yoga. And what's great about partnerships for events is, each of us only has to sell half the tickets to fill the venue. And in some case, like maybe this event, Jill sells a bunch of them, and then the next one we sell most of them. So it's a conversation about how that will work. But we're finding events are really great because when people meet me and they meet a Plum Deluxe staffer, and they hear other people having conversations about what they think is good in life, what they like to enjoy, culinary, gastronomy, travel, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like they're a fan for life. Like we've got them for life, and these people buy products, they buy from sponsors, they do all the things. So events are working pretty well for us. Cool. We're still pretty junior. And then we've layered on the latest thing, which just started a few weeks ago, which is products. And so I looked at because products, it's like, whoa, okay, you have a platform and now you're producing products. But again, I'm a big believer in controlling your destiny, and it's really hard to sell other people's products, especially when they get the customer. So I thought I could do it better. Yeah. And I thought about all the things that Plum Deluxe talks about, getting away for the weekend, spas, and wine, and dinner parties. And I thought, what's the thing that we could do that fits into all those moments, the moments we talk about? And that was tea. And I'm a huge tea fanatic. I really got into tea when I lived in Europe, still into it. And I thought, and I'd always thought, if I didn't do a magazine, I'd have a food business. Mm-hmm. And food businesses are hard. They're very hard, very easy to lose your shirt. But a dry food business is probably the easiest of any. And so we've come out with this tea line that seems to be like people are going nuts over. Yeah. So that's our latest thing. And I don't think we're going to do anything else for a while until we figure all those out. But for me, it's a platform. And I have to always be building the size of my platform, but I'm also making sure that my business is able to grow in revenue and satisfaction of the people who work for it and the people who enjoy it without us having to have bazillions and bazillions of followers. Yeah. Which is kind of what a lot of other people who have businesses similar to mine do. They go, like, I don't want to be a BuzzFeed. Yeah. Because I think it's a buzzkill to have to go every day and find more VC money to pour into advertising, to build the reach, to sell all of these advertising that sends customers away to someone else. Yeah. So that you can tell your investors you did a good job and then go get more VC money, and then it's just, it's kind of this awful cycle. And you just had an interview recently with John Fries from Startups. Yes. And that's a good interview to listen to if you haven't, because he kind of talks a little bit about, funding for business. There's more than one way to skin the cat. So I've chosen my way is like I'm in control of all the pieces because I'm good at that. So yeah. Cool. In summary, it's a platform. Yeah, and I love it. I love that the elements of your platform, sponsorships, affiliates. You tried it, it didn't really resonate so much for you. Yeah, we still have a few. We do take on the right people, but it's few and far between. Okay, and then the events that you've woven into your platform. Kimpton, for those listeners and viewers that don't know, is a boutique hotel brand, and they're national now? Yes, they are national. They're from California, but we've started with them here in the Northwest, and next year we're gonna take it on the road. Okay, exciting. And I mean, when I think of Plum Deluxe and I think of Kimpton boutique hotels, to me, though, that's a perfect match. That fits together so well in my mind. Yeah, everyone says that. Maybe we'll get married someday. I don't know, but they're really fun. They're really fun to work with, and they're really fun to they create experiences.
Yeah.
There's like a password every month that they tweet out, and if you say the password when you check in, you get a special gift.
Yeah.
Their mini bars in their rooms have local wines and local snacks, so they're
Mm-hmm.
all different,
Okay.
and they
I
always
love
are
it.
like surprising people. This is my personal feeling, has nothing to do with my business affiliation with Kimpton. I loved them
Yeah.
before we worked together,
Yeah.
but
No.
they're like just fun. They're just fun, and I think business is hard, so why not have fun? Because otherwise, why do it?
Yeah. And it's true, if I'm going to Seattle, the chances that I'll stay in a Kimpton or boutique hotel far are much greater than staying at the Marriott, for example, just because I know that a boutique
Yeah,
hotel that really cares about doing the little things, like I appreciate that. I know some people
yeah.
don't, but I like that. I like the little, the little luxuries, the little surprises, the things that companies like that do. Cool. All right, let's shift gears a little bit, Andy. It's great to hear about how your business has evolved over time and where your revenue streams are from and how that works. But let's talk about the reality of creating a successful online business and brand, because thousands of people try this approach every year. I don't know if some think it's going to be easy and they can just jump online and get
Hmm.
lots of
Hmm.
followers and build a brand in a month, but it just doesn't work that way, at least not typically. What are some of the first steps that you took with Plum Deluxe to ensure that you were building a solid foundation for your business and building loyal followers and building a loyal audience?
Mm. Well, I think the first off is brand. A strong brand makes your job a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
And a strong brand makes people really feel like they're somewhere. Strong brand makes people feel like they're somewhere. Because you don't have the benefit of merchandising in a retail store, for example, on a website.
Mm-hmm.
So, judicious choice of color, the layout and organization, um, those things I think make your job a lot easier. Not a little easier, a lot easier. But probably the most important thing is your message, and your message distilled down into the length of a tweet or less. Because you really need to convince people what they're getting into when they click over.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, it took us a long time to figure out the Plum Deluxe tweetable. But when I tell people Plum Deluxe is the website that helps you make moments that matter,
Yeah.
people, for some reason, there's something in that makes people go like, oh. Now, did that tell you what we do? Did that tell you how we make money? Did that tell you where you should give us money? Did it tell you more specifics on what you're going to find there? No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to. But the piece of your messaging really just needs to get people in the door.
Yeah.
I think of it as like something on a window, as you're walking by on the street and you see this thing. You need something that makes people go like, oh, that's really interesting. We should go in there.
Yeah.
So those are really the key foundation pieces.
Okay.
Because if you have those, then you can start crafting the ways that you're going to find the people that are wanting to enjoy your platform.
Yeah.
And at that point, I sure hope you know what they look like. Are they women? Are they men? How old are
Yeah.
they? How much money do they have?
Yeah.
What else do they like besides what you're going to offer them?
Yeah. So who is your customer target audience for Plum Deluxe?
Very good question. Her name is Amy.
Mm-hmm.
She is in her late 30s. She is fairly affluent, but would never call herself that
Mm-hmm.
because that's just not how she wants to see herself in the world.
Yeah.
Her biggest challenge is not money, but time.
Mm-hmm.
So she is looking for solutions to make her life a lot of fun and enjoyable and strengthen the connection she has with her friends and with her family
Mm-hmm.
in the limited time she has because she's working professional. Work.
Okay.
Sometimes too much.
Yeah.
And she's very open-minded to learning about new things, new recipes, new yoga poses, trying a guided meditation, etc.
Mm-hmm. And something that I want to point out, because I think this is inherently part of this, is
Yes.
you didn't speak about it, but that's somebody that has a strong desire for something in their life, and they've most likely got a pretty good disposable income to do something about it.
Indeed.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about business models, that can be a good thing in all cases.
Very important.
So
Yeah.
I love.
Do they buy gifts? How often do they buy gifts? Who do they buy gifts for?
Yeah.
Do they buy gifts for themselves?
Yep.
I was at a specialty food event, and someone was talking about branding, and she said the best thing I've heard in a long time. And usually the best things I've heard are for me. But she said, because I was there getting some help about the tea, and she said, when you're showing people your product, what you want to ask them is, what are they going to replace this with? And I thought that was genius, because we show people things that we're making, or we tell them about what we're doing, and people nod like, "Oh, that sounds great, Michael. Sounds fun." But really, if you want to get down and dirty, say, "Okay, I have this tea product. What in your life is going to move to make room for this?"
Wow, that's powerful.
And I thought that was a great question to ask, and it applies to anything. It doesn't have to be food.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. Like,
because they have to put that money from something else, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So it's a good little specialty food association. Good.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, and it does apply to anything and everything, because even with my clients, when I go through my one-on-one clients, we have a pretty real conversation about where is this going to fit in? What's going to come off the plate if we're going to engage in helping you start a meaningful business or project on the side? What's going to come off the plate that this is going to replace? Because we all tend to think we can fit it all in and do it all and be Superman, Superwoman, but that's just not the case. So I love that. That's a brilliant thing that you just stated there in terms of thinking about your product and what's it your product or your service, what's it going to replace? Because if it's not that compelling or that important to replace something, it's just a brilliant way to think about it.
Yeah, isn't it? I mean, it really gets people to tell you what their life is like.
Yeah.
For example, they're buying a car. It doesn't mean that maybe they have a junker car, but they may say, I got a job and it's across town and the bus is too far.
Yeah.
That told you a whole bunch more about your customer than do they want to buy it in navy blue or purple.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So try it.
Cool.
See what people say.
Man, that's a keeper right there.
You're welcome. Free of charge today.
Free of charge only today. All right. Andy, you used a phrase in your workshop that I attended that I just love, and I've quoted it a few times. I don't think you've gotten royalties for that yet, but they're in the mail.
Checks in the mail. I figured.
But you said building an audience is like sprinting a marathon, only to realize that at mile 26 you're just getting started. And I did say that. Yeah,
I did say that.
You did say that. And I resonated with that so much because it's at least for me. I consider myself still pretty much a novice in the online world and building an audience. And there's just so much competition out there that's vying for people's attention. And if you can connect with someone long enough and powerfully enough to get them to consciously put their email address into your website and say, yes, I want to be a part of this, or yes, I want what you have to offer, that takes a lot these days. And to build significant numbers and a significant audience, you just can't do that one by one. It's going to take a long time to do that. And you have built a substantial audience around Plum Deluxe, and maybe some of that came from what you were doing before. But I was curious, what was the size of your audience when you first started Plum Deluxe? If you don't, you don't have to share, but I'm just curious.
Well, I would definitely say I took a huge hit changing.
Okay. You took a hit. Okay.
I did because, and I knew that going in because I knew I had focused really on this travel and kind of all the things around that specifically, and that I was opening up my horizons. I was changing the way we produce content.
Yeah. And,
all the messaging was changing. Yeah. So a lot of people were not going to resonate with it. So I took a huge hit. It took me a while to come back from that.
Yeah.
We have like 100,000 now, which in the big scheme of things is not very huge.
Yeah.
And not all of them are on the email. I should have done that first, and I didn't. But I mean, we were probably at. See, I think like I had probably 70,000 people every month coming through the doors
Mm-hmm.
before I switched, and that went way down to like 35 or 40.
Okay.
It was hard, because I lost like Google traffic. I lost, it took a while to get Facebook pages renamed.
Yeah.
It was very hard. It was a really kind of like leap over the chasm moment.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's all back now.
Yeah.
And today, especially now that we're really in a groove with what we offer people to get on the email list, spending a little bit of money every month on like Pinterest or Facebook or Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
ads,
Yeah.
just very, very carefully chosen budgets.
Mm-hmm.
Not very much. I think now you have to pay to play. That's
Yeah.
kind of how it is.
Yeah.
So we pay, a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
judiciously.
Mm-hmm.
So now our growth is really consistent,
Okay.
which is good.
Okay. Got it.
So now we're trying to get our revenue growth to be consistent with those new people, as opposed to just how much solicitation do we do for sponsors.
Sure. Okay. So you've got a sizable audience around Plum Deluxe now. In terms of the keys, some of the keys to growing and connecting with that loyal community online, it's very different than anything else. It's very different than face-to-face or retail. And it's like you said, it's pay to play now. Before, a couple of years ago, you could do a lot with social media that didn't really cost that much. Today, they've built revenue models for themselves such that if you want to leverage their platform, you've got to pay for it.
That's right.
What would you say are some of the absolute, just some of the keys, the absolute keys, the can't miss, some of the things that you absolutely have to have in place to build a strong and loyal audience?
Well, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier, control your destiny. So don't rely on building a big Facebook page, because I think that sucks.
Yeah.
I think Facebook sucks. We've been, every month it's like we have to spend more to reach fewer people. It's ridiculous. And yet our numbers keep going up.
Yeah.
As many people before me on this show have said, email is great.
Yeah.
But I want you to really think about email differently. I want you to think about email is simply you need to have a way to keep in touch with people on a recurring basis.
Yeah.
And for example, at Plum Deluxe, we really want to get them to buy a product or buy a ticket for an event and opt into email. So we get paid to, build the email list as opposed to paying to build the email list.
Okay.
We have a ton of free things we offer people to get on email.
Yeah.
But to me, relationship building is not like a one-time thing.
Yeah.
You need to kind of craft how you're going to use I think email is the best way, but you can choose something else to do that, because that's where we find our best customers are on email.
Yeah. And people have said that on this show unanimously. Tara Gentile just said that a few weeks ago, that, her one strategy, if she could talk about anything important, for people that have an online community is email marketing.
Yeah.
And like you pointed out, I think you've taken that one step further to say, it's important to get someone's email, but then what do you do with that? How do you provide value after you have that email?
Yeah, and I think that's where we excel. We give them a really great experience.
You do, yeah.
I get emails every Sunday morning, people telling me, I just love your email, your newsletter, the Plum Deluxe blend, it's so nice.
Yes.
We for a while had a really bad unsubscribe rate, and I finally paid attention to it and realized, because I always think you shouldn't overanalyze those things, but I finally looked at it, and it was all the old people. Our new people, our unsubscribe rate was like minuscule, like nobody was unsubscribing, and I was like, oh, we're fine.
Yeah.
Don't pay it. So then I stopped paying attention to it again. So hopefully it's fine.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. All right.
So and it's the thing we spend the most time improving.
Yeah.
Because those are the best customers to us. So we should be spending our time making sure that the touch point that they have is the best.
Okay. So you get an email subscriber, and you're thinking about how can I provide the most value from a Plum Deluxe perspective for these individual email subscribers. I subscribe to your newsletter that comes out on Sunday, and it's unique. It's just, that's all I can say. It's something that comes in that's completely different than anything else I get. It's very unique. It's very tailored to just what we talked about around your brand. And there's really no other, I guess, brand or anything like that I subscribe to. But so it's got these unique things in the newsletter every Sunday, and I always take a look at it, and I always see something in there that's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, everybody says that. Everybody says that. We kind of tapped into some magic there.
Yeah.
But how did I come up with that? Is what people are probably thinking, and how do they make their own?
Yeah.
So I looked at my reader, and what did I say earlier? She's really, really busy. Her biggest challenge is time.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, we should email people when they're the least busy.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, Plum Deluxe newsletter, Sunday morning with pajamas, pancakes, cup of coffee, mug of tea.
Yeah.
And, people are going crazy over the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really key.
Mm-hmm.
But, someone listening might have, something else, some other, I hate to use the word shtick, but, kind of another, like, why is theirs different?
Yeah.
But no, you don't have to send it on Sundays. No, you don't send it on Mondays. Forget all the science.
Yeah.
Put a little magic into like what you picked.
Yeah.
And then I also know my person's busy, so they don't have time to go see what's the latest on the Plum Deluxe Pinterest boards every day or the Facebook page. Like we do all these things on social media, but these people are really busy. Mm-hmm. So the newsletter does condense everything down that happened that week.
Yeah.
So it includes what's new in events, what's new in the articles, inspirational quote, but all condensed into an email that's not too long. We have a length that we cut off at.
Okay.
So sometimes things get left off. They don't make it to the newsletter.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we're publishing all week, so I know how things are performing. So if something was not a good performer, maybe we had a bad headline, maybe this doesn't happen much anymore because we're pretty judicious, but in the beginning, maybe we had an article that was not the greatest. It was like just okay. Yeah. We don't do just okay anymore. We're beyond just okay. But we'd leave it off. We'd leave it off. But it's really tailored to the kind of people we want to attract.
Yeah.
So if you know what those people are like, you can make them come to you by offering them something that fits their lifestyle.
Yeah. I'm taking lots of notes today, and I hope everybody listening and watching is too, because I learn so much from you, Andy, every time we get together. You just have so much great insight, and you approach your business from such a you blend creativity with like this logical, makes sense. The clarity that you have around your reader. It's common sense. We should all have that level of clarity around who our reader, who our customer is. But you've got it. You've just got that nailed. You know them. You know when they like to read your newsletter, what they like to read in the newsletter. So these things aren't, this isn't some like genius thing, but the way you've broken it down is something that I think people should really pay attention to.
And
it's fantastic.
I don't always get it right the first time.
Yeah.
So you can do, if you don't know, do and then see what works.
Yeah.
Like we did affiliate products and we spent a lot of time and money getting that set up and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Because people wanted our stuff, not somebody else's.
Yeah.
So I don't always get it right the first try. I don't always get it right on the second try. Sometimes I don't just get it right. But some of these things are important. Yeah, and some of these things are important when it comes to, attracting new customers, creating products that are really good. You need to iterate and get them right, or you're not going to make it.
Yeah. Okay. So what, from your estimation today, I was thinking about this when you brought up Facebook, because I'm kind of in the Facebook haters camp right now too, or frustration at extreme levels, I would say. What's your favorite social media platform? Which one do you kind of do the most with right now? Pinterest, okay. And that's probably, that makes a lot of sense, for you too, probably because of, food and images and luxury. So those images are everything for you and like your newsletter. I see those.
Yeah.
Half the reason I look at your newsletter is because of all those beautiful images that I see.
Yeah. It's part of the magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Pinterest delivers us, an overwhelming majority of our new readers.
Okay.
It's by far our fastest growing social outlet. We really push it hard, 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 hard. We have a relationship with Pinterest. We've been featured on their Facebook pages and Twitter quite a few times, and we've been in every single newsletter they send all over the world. So the
Okay.
UK, the
Okay.
United States, the Canadian. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And we also have been, and I have to mention this, right, because full disclosure, we were one of the first publishers to have access to their paid pins.
Oh, wow.
And it's awesome, but you know what that means is you're going to have to pay for some of that stuff eventually.
Yeah.
And I see it now. I'm in some Pinterest groups, because we have that relationship. And I see people complain about like, wow, I'm not getting any new followers, or my boards with, 7,000 or 8,000 followers have no repins. And then I go and look at our page, because I don't really pay attention to that stuff. I look at, I have metrics I track, and how many repins something gets is not a metric that I track. Email, overall traffic, revenue, that's like my main things. But I go in and look, and I think, wow, like I'm having the same experience. And then it's like they change the algorithm, and then it's like the burners are back on.
Yeah.
So I think Pinterest is amazing, but it may end up the same as Facebook. So
again, back to email.
build, control your destiny. Enjoy Pinterest for what it is.
Yeah.
Take advantage of it while it's here.
Yeah.
Do something creative, fun, interesting, different that gets attention, and then get people over to be a customer so that you own them.
Absolutely.
I shouldn't say own them. You own a relationship with them.
Yeah. Leverage those platforms for what they can do, but don't rely upon them to do it all, or you're going to be sorely disappointed.
That's right.
And also one of the things that one of your good friends, Carrie Chapin, let me get that right, she mentioned a few weeks ago was, consider the platforms that your customers, your readers, your users use. If your customers are using Pinterest and that's where they go to, then, do some research to find out kind of what your customers, where they like to go. Don't just jump onto Facebook because it's the most popular social media platform or whatever. Take a look at where people like to go. All right. Andy, this is so good. We've jumped around, moved around a lot, and I could talk to you for a very long time, but I think we've dove into some areas that, especially people who have ambitions to take their business online, or maybe they've got an online business model, but also people that might want to, leverage products or a combination of online and product and events or services, because that's what you've done over the course of the last couple of years. So this has been fascinating. And I think that right now, maybe let's just jump into the lightning round of questions. You ready for that?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Most influential book?
I was wanting to say originally The Artist's Way. Because there's a lot of practices in The Artist's Way. I think it's Julia Cameron, very old book. A lot of creative practices that I love from that book. But I think for people who are watching this show, the book that you will enjoy most about creativity is Twyla Tharp's The Creative Habit.
The Creative Habit.
She's in ballet or something, or dance. I wasn't familiar with her before I read the book. But she talks about how she comes up with new ideas and knocks it out of the park every time. And her creative habits are sometimes a bit strange and obsessive, but it makes for a good story. Okay.
The Creative Habit. Got it.
Yeah.
How about the best conference or industry event, your favorite, and why?
Yeah, I was thinking about this one. I watch the show, so I know what the questions are coming. I haven't been a big conference person lately. I don't know why. If I had to say, it would definitely be World Domination Summit by Chris Guillebeau, which is is it the parent or sister event of Pioneer Nation? I'm not sure.
Okay.
So World Domination. If for no other reason, it's a bunch of like-minded cool people who come to Portland. So.
Yep. Great. All right. Most effective strategy for growing your business?
Partnerships. Partnerships for sure.
Okay.
We couldn't have gotten an events program off without partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't have gotten a tea product off without partnerships. Mm-hmm. We couldn't have grown our business so fast without partnerships. And some of those are hard. Like I don't know how to tell you how to get a partnership with Pinterest because I'm not sure how I did it. And part of it's luck and timing.
Yeah.
But, just look at who you can work with who would not be perceived as a competitor, but could receive value in working together. A great example is Jill, your wife Jill. We're doing a tea and yoga party, which seems like the most ridiculous thing ever, and people are asking me like, when are tickets going on sale? Because it is exactly that, ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we are not competitors.
Yeah.
I'm going to get customers who do yoga, and those people often are tea drinkers.
Yeah.
And then our tea drinkers are going to get introduced to a new yoga person.
Yeah.
So it's win-win. So I say partnerships all the way.
Cool. I love it. I love that. Love partnerships. I love collaboration. All right. Favorite business tool or resource?
Well, we already covered Pinterest, so I would probably say meditation.
Meditation. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is a very Plum Deluxe answer, isn't it? But I think mindfulness is one of the best ways to really grow solid foundations for your business. It's so easy to sit down at the computer and have all these emails to reply to, Facebook posts to schedule, things to repin, website updates, not to mention delivering your product or, calling your client and helping them.
Yeah.
Stepping away, even if it's just for 15 minutes, maybe you need to do it over a cup of tea. Maybe you sit down on a yoga pillow, whatever you want to do. Do it your own way. Go for a walk.
Yeah.
And you'll find more answers to problems that way than you will sitting in front of a computer.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So let's talk about most recent exciting adventure or your favorite hobby or some combination of those things.
Well, I have an obsession with the Oregon coast. So I live in Portland. Plum Deluxe is from Portland. Yeah. And I have an obsession with the Oregon coast. I definitely want to own a little beach cottage someday so I can go there for the weekend and write or pen my memoir or something. So the last Oregon coast trip was Newport, which is, I guess, is probably one of the biggest towns on the Oregon coast, second to Astoria. So it was an interesting little adventure, but it included my favorite things. We went to Rogue, which is one of the biggest breweries in Oregon. We did lots of hiking on the beach or on the, mountain range there, and just relaxing. Yeah. There's just something about ocean air that's just good for you. Yeah. I don't know what it is. We have great air here, don't get me wrong, but there's something about it. Yeah. Something about that, like the salt, I think the saltiness of it and it's just something very purifying. That sea air. Yeah. Okay, really we need to talk because Jill and I just spent 2 weeks on like the whole Oregon coast. I saw that. I want to know. Yeah. I want to know what was good. Yep. Where's the best fish and chips? That's the big question. Hey, I have some good solid answers for you on that one. Excellent. I look forward to this. All right, great. Andy, what are you most excited about in your business right now? Well, I'm really excited about this tea that we just started. It's so creative. Whenever I bring tea to an event, that's kind of been my test outlet. It's like I can't keep it in stock. I can't keep my ingredients in stock. And it's also been a challenge. It's really honing our e-commerce skills. How do we build a tea business when we don't even have an office building or space? How do we do packaging? Learning about shipping. But it's a new little adventure, and I really think it's got the potential. It's already driving a lot of decisions in events. Yeah. Which is great because always a platform, the pieces should link together. So like, how do we incorporate tea sales into events or events into tea sales? So that's what's really, I'm spending a lot of time on it, but I enjoy it. I could work on that all day. And if you told me I was going to become like a tea master halftime, I would never have believed you 7 years ago. Yeah. Cool. All right. So I would encourage everyone to check out plumdeluxe.com. You'll find the events associated with tea and other events, the Kimpton events listed on the website. You'll also be able to purchase the tea there as well as sign up for the newsletter. And your newsletter it's still called The Blend, yeah? Yep. Okay. It's a good one. It's a good one.
All right. As well as all the great articles that you produce. I mean, everything's right there. And I'll make sure that everything's linked up under the show notes for episode 42 at thestartupsessions.com/episodes/42. Andy,
Cool.
thanks so much for being on the show today. I've really enjoyed our time together.
Absolutely.
As always, a little bit different format for us to connect today, but I've enjoyed it nonetheless. Thanks so much, my friend.
See you, everyone.
All right, take care. We'll see everyone next week for a brand new episode of the Startup Sessions. Take care. Bye-bye. One of the greatest gifts that I receive from this show is meeting and talking to smart, creative people that are defining meaningful work in their own way. And Andy embodies this as good as anyone that I know with what he's creating at Plum Deluxe. Some of my favorite takeaways from this episode are the importance of knowing who you're targeting and who you're talking to. Does your business and brand speak specifically to someone? If not, what can you do today to gain more clarity about the person that your business is designed to serve? Hearing Andy describe the evolving revenue model at Plum Deluxe was also important. It shows that our businesses can grow and evolve with our interests. And while every idea might not work out, the ones that are a result of good planning, smart execution, and in alignment with our audience will have a great chance at succeeding. And finally, hearing Andy talk about growing his audience confirmed to me that building a loyal following isn't just an option. It's the key to steady revenue and having loyal fans to buy your products and services. I hope you enjoyed this insightful and valuable discussion with Andy Hayes of Plum Deluxe. Thanks for listening, have a great week, and live fully. Hey, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to head on over to thestartupsessions.com for a full recap of all our episodes, including links to amazing resources for each guest, thoughtful and provoking blog articles, and many other great resources. Thank you so much for listening and watching. And if today's guest can create a meaningful business and achieve a life of freedom through a business with soul, why can't you?